Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about another potential storm system. Now, this will obviously be pretty, not that long after the prior system that we just had across the East Coast and the Eastern United States. You may be asking yourself, okay, how often does this actually happen where we have a system after a system? And to be honest with you, during the fall months and around this time of the year, we really do see a lot of storms occur. So, this another big storm is literally what it means. Just another big storm is coming. It's not really rare or unusual. It's just the potential for another storm. So, if you guys are new, by the way, before we get into this video, if you're new and you're liking what you're seeing, consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video always helps out a ton. So, thank you so much for that. Let's start off by looking at the European model. So, originally I was actually going to make a video about this yesterday, and I think several people did see it, but I made it private after 40, I think it was like 40 views, because I quickly decided that it was already almost 9, because YouTube has this new thing where it's kind of a mess, and it takes a bit longer to upload, so I just decided to leave it till today, and I was going to talk about it yesterday, but now we're here, so let's forget about yesterday. Alright, so again, we had that storm system, that giant storm system across the East Coast and moved into the Northeast. We are still seeing the effects of that across, say, even my area. Literally a couple minutes ago, we were just getting slammed by some hail. It wasn't big, no damage, but it was like that pea-sized hail that just makes a ruckus. There was tons of it, but it didn't cause any damage. It was just really more cool to see how convective the environment is. And oftentimes, during the summer, we don't get hail. For example, this year we didn't get any hail at all, up until right now, where we saw tiny hail because of the convective showers. And if it was just a bit cooler, even 5 to 10 degrees, we would be seeing that grapple, that snow. But we got hail, and again, that's to do with the really cold air aloft, but not necessarily at the surface. Perfect conditions for hail. Let's glance over what's going to happen in the next hours and the next few days. Notice that we see lake effects, showers and rain showers. No snow, really. No lake effect snow. There may be some grapple mixing in across the UP and northern Wisconsin, but really this isn't significant. It's just more of a cool event to see, lake effect forming in early October. I do apologize about that chair. And obviously that will subside. We see a coastal low pretty far off. That's not the storm we'll talk about in this video. That one goes off pretty far to the east and really affects maybe portions of southern Canada with a band of showers and storms and parts of the northeast as well. Really nothing to go home about, and we won't be making a video about that. Then we turn our focus. Earlier yesterday, for example, there was a threat of a lower piece of energy combining with a piece from the mountains, and that was potentially to make a storm. You could see that ever since then, the European, which was the most adamant, if you will, about showing that storm system, has now stopped showing it. Goes off coast, much weaker, doesn't do anything. But really what the models have now kind of started focusing on is this low pressure up here. So what we have is a combination of lows. We have one very far to the north that is dragging a cold front across the Great Lakes into southern Canada through central Ontario and into western Quebec, sorry. And as we push this forward, you can see that off of that a low does form. This one does become pretty spinned up already at around the next Wednesday, Tuesday time frame. So yes, it's a bit far out, but it's not like last storm where, we talked about it for 2 weeks before it actually happened. This one looks to be pretty consistent in the models and is only around 140 hours out, which really in this grand scheme of things isn't that, that's not considered the long range. And notice that we have the low pressure continuing to intensify. Definitely going to bring some pretty strong winds across Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the UP. Also, notice we do have a high pressure coming in at around the same time. This is going to be bringing warmer temperatures, but with these two kind of converging, it forms a alleyway of strong winds. High pressures spin clockwise. That's where the winds go, in that direction. Low pressures, they spin counterclockwise, and they spin in this direction. So across these areas, we could be seeing some pretty strong wind upcoming into next week, around the mid of next week, so around this time. just next week. And notice the storm continues to grow in size. Lots of precip, affects a good portion of the Northeast. You could see bringing showers across Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and this does eventually continue to intensify, bring pretty strong winds to the East Coast. The arrangement or placement of the exact low will determine whether or not this will be, or how impactful it will be. Because if the winds are coming off the shore, then that will really not pose a big threat. As the biggest threat with wind and the Northeast is the erosion with the waves. And that's only if the winds are blowing onshore. If they're blowing offshore, you can see not much of a deal. And this is what the winds are going to be doing for a majority of the time. And notice that this low pressure kind of comes in from the east, so it never has the right orientation to blow pretty strong winds onto the, especially areas like Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It could across portions of Maine, but you can see at this point it's still not that strong. It only intensifies later, and at this point it's blowing off the shore. And notice northern Maine and into portions of eastern Canada, into eastern Quebec, and into Labrador and Newfoundland. Those locations could definitely be looking at some snow showers, even a potential just full-fledged snowstorm on the western wall of this low pressure. By the way, I do apologize if there are some noises, ambient noises coming from the back. I have a full house of people in my family, so there's definitely going to be some noises of maybe the walls, or not the walls, but the floor creaking or stuff like that. So I do apologize about that. But notice that as we push forward, we see another little low pressure. That one doesn't look significant, but we definitely see much more increased precipitation across the west coast, which is actually a good thing. And if you were to look at the total accumulated precipitation, this remaining storm system continues to leave its showers and storms in isolated areas. Maybe you can see right there, for example, up to an inch. And to be honest, that's possible, because these downpours, even though it's late fall, they could have a bit of thunder and actually very, very heavy rain. The storm we just had with the hail had a very, very heavy rain, and it probably, I would say, maybe a tenth to 2/10 of an inch. And that's not, that awful much. But if you get a couple of those, and over a long period of time, half an inch to, 7/10, a quarter, is definitely not out of the question. And notice as we push this forward, we see that storm develop. It brings, or that attempted storm from yesterday, our big one that we're talking about, only develops here. And you can see that it definitely does increase quite a bit of precip across the northern Great Lakes into New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. It stays limited, but there are, differences among the models, and we'll have to see that. But again, it affects a good portion of southern Canada as well. Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, all these large cities lined up again here will be impacted by that rain. And again, quite a bit of snow possible across eastern portions of Quebec, and I just want to show you that just for the fun of it. Why not? I definitely, if you are in this band and you're watching this video at this point, please comment down below, because I'm actually genuinely curious as to how many people I have watching around this location. Because look, northern Maine, extreme northern Maine, maybe 2 to 3 inches. But here we could see easily up to a foot, foot and a half. And in terms of millimeters, that's what they measure that in really anywhere else other than the United States. I actually have no clue, to be honest with you. I don't want to give you guys a false estimate, but 12 inches, you could just quickly, kind of go on the conversion ratio online and do that. I don't know, there may be a different option here for say millimeters, but we'll have to see. I know that for tropical tidbits they do have that automatically if you go to a region like southeastern Canada. So let's go to the GFS parallel model, and let's take a look at the just the precipitation. But let's take a glance at the United States overall, so we are including as much people as possible. And take a back notice again, we have a bit of rain possibly this weekend across the Midwest. This tries forming a storm again. All models at this point keep it offshore with limited precipitation. The GFS then does what the European does. We have a low pressure extending into the Michigan, southern Canada, into northern United States area. But the real main story is right here. You can see it becomes quite a bit stronger than the European shows, and a bit more earlier on, if you will. And you can see that the snow does occur a bit further to the west. And depending on how much cold air there is, we could even have some of the larger cities get some snow showers out of that. And you can see that it definitely is a beast. 974 millibars of pressure. Again, hopefully it stays a bit to the north, you know, kind of what the GFS shows, so we don't see beach erosions with waves, and that would obviously require winds onshore. But thankfully, with this scenario, they'd be offshore, and that still poses a threat. I mean, you can see we have the high pressure, and the low pressure creates kind of like an alleyway of very strong winds, so probably some wind warnings, wind watches, or just some gusty gust of wind will be occurring. And that also drops quite a bit of snow, and I want to now show you how much snow it could drop, and I will go show you the Canadian amounts hopefully as well, in or you know, in millimeters. Total snowfall. You can see the GFS puts it generally similar, but the area of 12 to 16, 18 is a bit more widespread than what the European shows. Generally, though, similar consensus. I won't call this a snowstorm, but because of the fact that not many folks live up there, and if they see the word snowstorm on the title, they will be a bit perplexed as to why. And then I wanted to look at southeastern Canada. I don't know if that, I'm trying to find it. I am absolutely blind. There we go. Southeastern Canada. Oh, there we go. You can see, yeah. Okay, yeah, so 50 to 60 millimeters in that dark spot, which is, this blue color in inches is, I can just go off the key, is based, similar to around 24 inches. So up to 2 feet across some of these locations, that's possible. I mean, this is pretty far to the north, but even further south locations, some elevations and peaks across the northeast may be looking at a dusting or inch or two of snow. In Nova Scotia, not really seeing much. It's really just portions of Labrador, kind of the Labrador that's stuck to mainland Canada, and then a good portion of eastern Quebec, seeing quite a bit of snow. And I just want to look back at the GFS and see what it does overall in the long range, kind of to show you just in general what's to come. And at this point, it looks as if, you know, we'll have some chilly air this weekend, but it maybe a bit behind this storm. But overall, the pattern becomes very, very warm. You know, we could have just pretty much a heat wave ongoing at around a week or two out from now. And October, like I said, almost, you know, from the beginning, October is going to be warm, and that was my most confident month. That's going to be warm, and if October doesn't turn out to be warm, then that's going to be a bit surprising, to be honest, because the indications right now are just strongly supporting a warm October. But you can see the big storms won't stop. The snow may be a bit more limited, obviously, occurring only in as far north as the Canadian border, but these storms are still beasts. But because of these storms, the warm air out ahead of these storms will be very, very hot. I mean, that is just ridiculous anomalies. And you can see the cold air behind it's not even that cold. So the phone is ringing, and I do apologize about that. Let's take a look at the 2-meter temperature shaded, and you can see this is the nighttime lows. This isn't the daytime. Daytime, look at that. 70s, 80s, 90s as far north as North Dakota, South Dakota, northern Nebraska, sorry about that. But again, very warm possibly across October, and even after that storm occurs, it's not going to be much cold air, really still above average, and that cool air that does occur is just going to be more closer to normal, just cooler compared to what we could be seeing days prior. I wanted to go to the anomaly. I would assume a bit of chilly air may make its way in after that big storm. We could see not an impressive cool down. It's not, you know, major pattern change of any sort. Really, the heat is going to be the more impressive part. And you can see right now we are in a cool down. Another one will follow after that big storm. After that, though, we could be looking at a big, big warm up. And by the way, these cool downs, this first one's going to be impacting a good portion of the United States. The second one really just skims the east and northeast, and its impacts may be a bit overdone by the GFS model. Let's take a look at the GFS parallel. So this is kind of the updated, upgraded GFS model. This one sometimes does a good job, sometimes it doesn't. I still need a little bit more time to get recognized with it and see its trends overall. Similar to the GFS, does jump around quite a bit, but obviously it's supposed to be improved, and it seems to do better. You can see it mentions a bit more of that rain across Monday and Tuesday, but that's again not the big storm that we're talking about. And look at that, the GFS parallel completely ignores the second storm, just goes off and not forming it. So that's interesting, but you can see that it does keep the pattern more drier than the European, more dry than the European or the regular GFS. The Canadian, let's take a look at it. The Canadian's a bit interesting. It shows its own kind of little scenarios, but it's in more agreement with, I think, the other two models in the GFS parallel. You can see it does show that storm, but it is quite weak. So kind of in between. The GFS parallel barely shows anything. This one shows a bit. The European and Canadian or the European and the GFS regular do show a bigger storm. So we'll have to see how that unfolds, but again, a possibility for a large storm is still there, and we'll have to keep you guys monitored. You can see right here a full-on snowstorm. We'll have to see about that, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya.